It's DJ Q&A day today, one of my favourite videos to film, answering your DJ related questions that you have sent in via my YouTube community post and also Instagram. Thank you to everyone that has submitted a question this time around. And I'm back in the UK after a 4-day stint over in Ibiza. If you haven't checked out that vlog, do so by clicking the link down in the description down below. It's down there somewhere. Right, let's crack on with the first question. So this has come in via the YouTube community post. Hey Karl, where do you get your acapellas and what's the most important thing to do when promoting myself? Love your videos. Well, firstly, thank you for the kind words. I'm going to split that question into two. Where do you get your acapellas? Well, multiple sources really. There is vocaler.it, which is a good website dedicated to acapellas. I featured it on my video talking about essential websites for DJs. I have got a link to that down below, as well as the link to Vocaler in the description. And some record pools also have acapellas as well. BPM Supreme sometimes have acapellas available, as do DJ City. I use Zip DJ on a regular basis, as you probably know if you've watched the channel for a while. And they also have a DJ Tools section which does include acapellas. You can also buy them on Beatport. It just depends on how open the label is to giving them out. So yeah, a variety of different sources. It's really important to note though that acapellas aren't available for absolutely every track. So yeah, a variety of different sources. And second question, what's the most important thing to do when promoting myself? So promoting yourself. I would say just get out there, knock on as many doors as possible, network with as many people as you can. But what I would also say is network with the right people. If you are, for example, a drum and bass DJ and you're looking for, say, like drum and bass gigs, there is no point in like networking with people that are going to get you booked in the local commercial bar or the commercial nightclub. Like, these types of gigs are good for building experience, but if you are really dedicated on one particular route of DJing, then I'd say networking, but also networking with the right people. Also as well, when you're setting up like your social channels and things like that, you want to try and have like your niche and what makes you unique carved out already. Now, I'm not saying that that can't change further down the line, like people do rebrand all the time, but try and have an area of focus when you are promoting yourself. Don't try and spread yourself too thinly. And I think on social media, try and have like one area of focus. So if you're really keen on like growing Instagram, you know, focus on that particular platform. Then once you've built up that platform to a certain level, then you can like move over to YouTube or something else. If you try and focus on everything at once, you are just gonna like burn yourself out and you will get stressed by doing it, and you probably won't reap the rewards as much as when you are really focused. So those are my tips for you. On to the next question then, and we'll take one from Instagram. Should DJs take requests? Oh, and there's another one linked to this. What do you think of punters that request songs? In terms of what do I think of punters that request songs, I'm quite neutral to it. I think I'm just used to it. In the types of clubs and bars that I work in, it's kind of part and parcel of the job. And generally speaking, like, the managers like me to play requests as long as it fits in with the type of music that I'm playing for that room. For example, if I'm playing a main room set in the main room of a club and there is a cheese room, then I'm not going to play something cheesy, but I will direct them in the right place. Similarly, I think if you are being requested a song that you've already played because that person was in the other room, you just kind of have to stand your ground a little bit. But yeah, I don't mind too much as long as the request is not like completely ridiculous. And in terms of should DJs take requests, again, it just depends on the type of environment that you're working in. In the commercial clubs, in the commercial bars, I would say that like it is kind of expected, but always use them as a guide. Never like promise that you are going to play a request. It has to fit in with the type of music and the type of vibe, and also the music policy that you're playing to. I think when you're DJing for like a private party, it's probably a little bit more important because you are booked by a person, and if it's like, say, the bride or groom that is requesting the song, ultimately they are paying you, so you probably should play their requests. regardless of whether it would fit in the night or not. Try and find a suitable place to play it. Next question then, and we will go back over to YouTube. Hi Karl, love the videos, thank you very much. What were some of the biggest learning curves you had when starting out as a gigging DJ? Really good question. So I think number one is sound systems. They were a learning curve. And what I mean by this is when you go from your bedroom, which is like got your little speakers, to a mobile sound system, there's a massive jump up in volume and like how large the sound sounds, if that makes sense. But then the biggest learning curve was going from the mobile DJ sound system, because that's how I started out doing like kids parties and stuff. Going from like a mobile DJ sound system to a nightclub sound system, I was completely overwhelmed with just how loud the sound felt when I was playing it. Now, I visited nightclubs before, I knew it was loud, but when you're playing it yourself, it's just quite overwhelming, and it is a lot harder to learn how to mix on a sound system when the whole like room and the booth is kind of vibrating. So that was one of the learning curves. I think another learning curve for me, especially in nightclubs, was how to read a crowd. Like, I think a lot of people just assume that the people go there and they buy drinks at the bar and then just go on the dance floor. But it's one thing having a crowd dancing, but it's another thing holding a crowd from start to end. So learning how to really structure a long set of sort of 5-6 hours was a learning curve, and keeping them dancing, keeping them interested. Keeping this short and sweet today, going back over to Instagram. This is like the fifth and final question. This comes in from DJ Evison, who actually check him out on Instagram. He's done some like really cool streams and videos from loads of like wild and wacky locations all over the UK. Link down below in the description, so have a look. But thank you for sending in the question, mate. How to adapt from a beginner to a more advanced controller? It's a good question, and I think that generally speaking, like, you have your basic functions on all controllers. So, you know, your start, stop, cue buttons, your hot cues, that kind of thing. And I think some of those basic functions will always transfer across, which you will know how to use. I think the more advanced features are more things like effects on the mixer and generally the nice to haves rather than the must haves, or there might be a bigger jog wheel or things like that. You'll be surprised how much you already know when you jump up in terms of kit. But what I would say is just learn your new controller inside out. So focus on if it's got new effects on it, just learn what those effects do. How does it manipulate the sound? Give it a go, maybe like focus on one or two to incorporate into your sets, and then build it from there. But I think you'll be pleasantly surprised on how much you already know of your controller when you make the step up, and you will feel at home, because ultimately in the bottom left corner is typically your play, pause and cue button. On the bottom right is always your pitch slider. So a lot of the core functionality will be there. It's just how you kind of learn to use those more like nice to have features. Maybe it's got 4 channels rather than 2 channels, etc, etc. But I think you will be pleasantly surprised. Hope you've enjoyed this Q&A answering my top 5 questions that I have been sent in. Please do give this video a thumbs up if you found it useful. Maybe there are some questions that have been answered for you that you didn't get a chance to send in time. If you haven't yet subscribed, hit the button over there. If you haven't checked out my vlog from Ibiza, please hit the button up there, and I will see you in the next video.